Yeah, these people saw something, experienced something, interacted with something. They are creating a breakaway civilization on Mars. So they're talking about taking the DNA or genetics from one of themselves and mixing it with the DNA of the hominid that was here. You can actually hear Neil Armstrong say something very interesting as they're going over the moon's surface, and he's saying, wow, look at those convex craters down there.
Billy Carson suggests that the Anunnaki, who he believes were the Atlanteans, an advanced civilization, built multiple cities on Earth, the Moon, Mars, and possibly beyond.
Anunnaki doesn't mean they're all one particular race of people. It means they were people who came from heaven to Earth. Anybody from space that comes to Earth is an Anunnaki. The civilization they built is the Atlantean. But even in the tablets, it talks about some of these people coming from different planets or stars, which means that they probably most likely were a mixed race of people.
According to Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki were about 1 million years ahead of us in technology, making their achievements seem like magic today. Carson also mentions the idea of cargo cults, where less advanced civilizations see more advanced ones as gods, which supports his theory that the Anunnaki were far more advanced than we are now. Carson explains that the names of Anunnaki leaders were carved into ancient rock tablets. These tablets required a lot of skill and accuracy to create and could not be changed or altered, making them a reliable source of information. According to the 7D Prince, the Anunnaki were ancient beings with advanced technology and knowledge who created mankind in their image. He says the Anunnaki and the Elohim mentioned in religious texts are the same. He believes the creation of early humans, called Adamu, happened around 300,000 to 200,000 years ago, and that humans were originally created as slaves. The Anunnaki mixed their life essence with that of existing beings on Earth. This raises the question of whether the Anunnaki created humanity from the start.
There's an existing being on this planet, existing. We can add our essence to it with a slain god. So they're talking about taking the DNA or genetics from one of themselves and mixing it with the DNA of the hominid that was here. It's not specified whether it was, an ape man or anything, but they don't specify in the tablets. But to create a worker being, and they made a clone, mixed hominid, somebody they can control. In other words, they can communicate with, they can teach to a certain level, they can get them to do the workload, they can instruct them and they would listen.
The text suggests that the Anunnaki didn't create humans from scratch, but used genetic manipulation. Carson points to ancient accounts of genetic manipulation as evidence. He mentions the importance of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, written by one of these beings, as well as other ancient texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Book of Enoch, which also talk about the Anunnaki. He emphasizes the need to explore these texts to uncover the truth about our origins and the influence of these beings on humanity. These ancient texts mention a planet named Nibiru and the Babylonian god Marduk. Carson believes that the beings who wrote these texts were more advanced, both spiritually and technologically. He argues that parts of the Bible might have been adapted from even older texts.
Yeah, these people saw something, experienced something, interacted with something, and he cataloged it, and it inspired him to write a complete translation of the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation. And he talks about the fact that that information was copied right from those tablets and put into the Old Testament of the Bible. There were only specific bloodlines or specific people with particular interests and knowledge and so forth allowed to do this. Of course, even in the Bible, they're known as the Anak, A-N-A-K. We were grasshoppers in their eyesight, it says in the biblical text. So no matter where you go in any culture, you're going to discover that these beings, in some way, shape, or form, engaged mankind. Anunnaki doesn't mean they're all one particular race of people. It means they were people who came from heaven to Earth. Anybody from space that comes to Earth is an Anunnaki. The civilization they built is the Atlantean. But even in the tablets, it talks about some of these people coming from different planets or stars, brought knowledge, teaching, building techniques, and just so much more wisdom and information, esoteric wisdom, alchemy, all these things came from these people.
Carson talks about the Enuma Elish, a Babylonian creation myth found in 1849 by Austin Henry Layard. He also references Zechariah Sitchin's translations, but clarifies that Sitchin's work is just one of his sources. Billy Carson also believes that images taken by NASA's Mars rover show evidence of an advanced civilization on Mars that existed at the same time as civilizations on Earth. He points to an image of a lion-like structure on Mars, known as Cydonia, as evidence of advanced technology used to manipulate the landscape.
They are creating a breakaway civilization on Mars. We have been downloading images from NASA, the European Space Agency, the Indian Space Agency, China, Russia, all the publicly available images from all the space probe data and rovers. Now, if you take the black box audio, which is available from the Freedom of Information Act to the general public now from Apollo 11, you can actually hear Neil Armstrong say something very interesting as they're going over the moon's surface in the limb. And he's saying, wow, look at those convex craters down there. Anytime that people can attack you so brutally over that, I mean, I'm on live talking about quantum physics and they're in the chat. The Earth is flat, the Earth is, I mean,